Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to start our second lesson, The Eclipse by Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is a very famous novelist, and she has written a lot of novels and essays, and she is very famous for using the technique of stream of consciousness. And in this essay, The Eclipse, she has written very beautifully. And as you know, there are two kind of eclipse: solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. This essay has been divided into three parts, three different scenes. First one is before the eclipse, second one is during the eclipse, and third one is the reaction of the people after the eclipse. So let's start this essay. Never was there a stranger purpose than that which brought us together that night, the June night in Euston railway station. We were come to see the dawn trains like our were starting all over England at that very moment to see the dawn. All noses were pointing north when for a moment we halted in the depths of the country. There were the pale yellow lights of motor cars also pointing north. There were no sleep, no fixity, no rest. In England that night, all were on the roads, all were travelling north, all were thinking of the dawn. As the night wore on, the sky, which was the object of so many million thoughts, assumed greater substance and prominence than usual. The consciousness of the whitish soft canopy above us increased in weight as the hours passed. When in chill early morning we were turned out on a Yorkshire roadside, our senses had oriented themselves differently from usual. We were no longer in the same relation to people, houses, and trees. We were related to the whole world. We had come not to lodge in the bedroom of an inn. We were come for a few hours of this embodiment intercourse with the sky. So in this paragraph, basically Virginia Woolf is trying to tell us that people were going to north to witness the eclipse. It was very cold, but nobody was thinking about it. They were very excited, and people were interested in watching the eclipse. It didn't matter for them whether it was a hilly area and roads were uneven and they couldn't go to the north by their cars or buses, but they were very excited and they were covering the distance on foot, and everything was very pale. The river was pale and the fields brimming with grasses and tasseled flowers which should have been red had no color in them, but lay there whispering and waving round colorless farmhouse. Now the farmhouse door would open and out would step to join the procession the farmer and his family, in their Sunday clothes, neat, dark, and silent, as if they were going uphill to church, or sometimes women merely leaned on the window sills of the upper rooms watching the procession pass with amused contempt. It appeared, they have come such hundreds of miles, and for what? They seemed to say in complete silence. We had an odd sense of keeping an appointment with an actor of such vast proportion that he would come silently and be everywhere. So the sky is seen as a stage, and the sun will come like an actor, and he will play his role that has been assigned to him. And in this paragraph, she has told that people were in large number. It seemed that some procession is going on. Villagers were also amazed that this all people were going so excitedly at this or at such an odd hour. The travelers seemed so keen, as they had some appointment to keep, and they had to went there through thick and thin. By the time we were at the meeting place on a high fell, where the hills stretched their limbs out over the flowing brown moorland below, we had put on too, though we were cold, and with our feet stood in red bog water, were likely to be still colder, though some of us were sweated on Macintoshes. It means the waterproof coats among cups and plates eating, and others were fantastically accounted, and none were at their best. Still, we had put on a certain dignity, rather perhaps we had put off the little badges and signs of individuality. We were strung out against the sky in outline, and had the look of statues standing prominent on the ridge of the world. We were very, very old. We were men and women of the primeval world, come to salute the dawn. So the worshipper at Stonehenge must have looked among tussocks of grass and boulders of rock. So this reference to the Stonehenge is very important. Stonehenge is a very famous ancient site where the people used to worship the sun. It seems the people are like the people that used to worship the sun, and they were going that way. Yorkshire sky, they're bounded four large lean red dogs, hounds of the ancient world. Hunting dogs, they seemed leaping with their noses close to the ground on the track of boar or deer. Meanwhile, the sun was rising. A cloud glowed as a white shade glows when the light is slowly turned up behind it. Golden wedge shaped streamers fell from it and marked the trees in the valley green, and the villages blue brown in the sky behind us. There swam white island in pale blue lake. The sky was open and free there, but in front of us a soft snow bank had massed itself. Yet, as we liked, we saw it proving worn and thin in patches. The gold momentarily increased, melting the witness to a fairy gauze, and this grew frailer and flairer till, for one instant, we saw the sun in full splendor. Then there was a pause, a moment of suspense like that which precedes a race. The starter held his watch in his hand, counting the seconds. Now they were off. So you can see that whether the people were poor, or it is about a squire, or people from the literacy, everybody was going to witness the eclipse. Everybody was excited. Virginia has explained that due to the eclipse, people were very excited, and the sun had to race through the clouds and to reach the goal, which was a thin transparency to the right before the sacred seconds were up. They were giving so much importance to the eclipse, and they are using the word sacred for it. He started. The clouds flung every obstacle in his way. They clung, they impeded, he dashed through them. He could be felt flashing and flying when he was invisible. His speed was tremendous. Here he was out and bright, now he was under and lost. But always one felt him flying and thrusting through the murk to his goal. For 1 second he emerged and showed himself to us through our glasses, a hollowed sun, a crescent sun. Finally he went under for his last effort. Virginia Woolf is again and again using the literary term, that is personification, and he's personifying the sun. Now he was completely blotted out. The moments passed, watches were held in hand after hand. The sacred 24 seconds were begun. Unless he could win through before the last one was over, he was lost. Still one felt him tearing and racing behind the clouds to win free. But the clouds held him. They spread, they thickened, they slackened, they muffled his speed. Of the 24 seconds, only 5 remained, and still he was obscured. And as the fatal seconds passed, so you can see that when the time has started, when the eclipse has started, the writer has used the word, and the emotion has been described by the word sacred 24 seconds. But now it seems as people have become frightened, and she has used the word fatal seconds. passed, and we realized that the sun was being defeated, had now indeed lost race. All the color began to go from the mood. The blue turned to purple, the white became livid as at the approach of a violent but windless storm. Pink faces went green, and it became colder than ever. This was the defeat of the sun then, and this was all. So we thought, turning in disappointment from the dull cloud blanket in front of us to the mood behind. They were livid, they were purple, but suddenly one became aware that something more was about to happen, something unexpected, awful, unavoidable. The shadow growing darker and darker over the moor was like the healing over the hour of a boat, which instead of righting itself at the critical moment turns a little further and then a little further on its side and suddenly capsizes. So the light turned and healed over and went out. This was the end. The eclipse has ended. Underline this one: the flesh and blood of the world was dead, only the skeleton was left. It hung beneath us, a frail shell, brown, dead, withered. Then, with some trifling movement, this profound obeisance of the light, this stopping down, and abasement of all splendor was over. Lightly, on the other side of the world, up it rose. It sprang up as if the one movement after the second's tremendous pause completed the other, and the light which had died there here rose again elsewhere. Never was there such a sense of rejuvenation and recovery. All the convalescence and respites of life seemed rolled into one. Yet at first so light and frail and strange the color was, sprinkled rainbow like in a hoop of color, that it seemed as if the earth could never live decked out in such frail tints. It hung beneath us like a cage, like a hoop, like a globe of glass. It might be blown out, it might be stove in, but steadily and surely a relief broadened, and our confidence established itself as the great paint brush washed in woods dark on the valley and massed hill blue above them. The world became more and more solid, it became populous, it became a place where an infinite number of farmhouses, of villages, of railway lines have lodgements, until the whole fabric of civilization was modeled and molded. But still the memory endured that the earth we stand on is made of color. Color can be blown out, and then we stand on a dead leaf. And we who tread the earth securely now have seen it dead. So you have to underline last three lines, and she has explained it in a very philosophical way. During eclipse it seemed as earth was temporary, lifeless, without sun, but after some time sun had started pouring its golden rays and everything regained its color, and it was a breathtaking moment. The faces of the people began to smile as the sun got its color back. All the landscape of the area became clear, and so this leads us to a very important lesson, that colors of the world can be finished, they are not permanent. So in this way life is not permanent, everything has to meet its end. And important theme you have seen is sun. Sun is the central unit of our solar system, and it gives us heat and light, and and the life is possible on the planet because of the sun. And perhaps it sun has given color to all the colorless things that are present on the planet. And the essence of this essay is that earth is beautiful because of the colors, and colors are from the sun. So you have seen that how beautifully this essay has been written by Virginia Woolf. Hope you will do the exercise of this essay. Thank you.